Thank you for joining Candid Conversations with Baltimore County Police Department. I am Kelly Fenner, the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer and the moderator of Candid Conversations. Today's discussion will be with youth community members to gain insight into their perspectives, experiences, as well as their future. Our first guest is Madeline. Madison, can you please give us a brief introduction and just a little bit about why you agreed to participate in this discussion?
Hello, my name is Madison. I am a senior at Goucher College in Towson, Maryland. I wanted to participate in this conversation because I feel that it's important, to open yourselves up to different perspectives and hearing from different people outside of your age, race, and identity.
Thank you, Madison. Question. If
Mhm.
you could spend the day with anyone at all, whether they're still here with us or not, who would that be and why?
Um, that's a hard question to answer because there's so many people that I could like list off right now, but I think as of right now, one person that's, sticking out to me the most in the media is the Olympian tennis star Naomi Osaka. Um, I've just like really got into her journey and how she's like, been brought up as a tennis star and the things that she goes through mentally dealing with the media. And it's just been really inspiring to me. So I would just like to hang out with her and talk to her and I don't know, see where, she's at as a young person that has accomplished so much already.
Naomi Osaka.
Yeah.
That's when you know what that brings me to think, what about what excites you about your future?
I think just the opportunities for success, whatever that looks like, and just trying new things because I always felt like, that I would have to be at a certain place at a certain time. And, in college now, and I'm feeling more of this like, sense of I'm still pretty young, so I still have a lot of time to get things done and just like exploring and figuring things out for me. I think that that's an exciting part of, just like being out in the world to figure it out on my own. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, on the flip side of that, what concerns you about your future?
Um Realistically, I would say finances, like being able to financially support myself, just coming out of college and, paying off student loans and trying to find an apartment and like, live on my own, like that kind of thing kind of concerns me. More idealistically, I guess like just failures and mistakes that might be like ahead of me. And sometimes I worry about like, how will I face that when it comes? So yeah, those are some things that I don't know, I think about.
So if those are the things that concern you, where do you see yourself in the next or 10 years from now?
Um, Hopefully out of Baltimore City. I do kind of want to move and explore different parts of the world in the US. But I definitely see myself, established in my career of choice and working hard towards my goals and, building something that's for me.
That's deep.
Is it?
There it is because it's the unknowing, just knowing that you want to build something for yourself and that you can see yourself doing that in the next 5 to 10 years. It's deep because like you said, you're still young. So
Yeah.
to see that in your future, you know,
I think it's important though that we start building things while we're young because I think about like, my mom and all of the things that she's done to provide the opportunities that I have and I'd I'd love to like just take it a step further and start even younger than she was, starting to build what she has established for me and my family to, support the future generations to come, and
Yeah.
my behind. So,
You talked about your mom. So, there's a saying, or I should say, it's a statement that says, um, respect is given when respect is earned.
mhm.
How does that statement fit into your life path?
Respect is given when respect is earned. Um, that's funny. I've never heard it that way before, but I definitely do value it because I feel that respect is a big thing and it's important to, respect the people that are around you and respect yourself. So I feel that um I just had it flew out of my mind, but like I remember once, and this is kind of like going off track to get to my point, but I remember once being in like I was in sixth grade and this guy came up to me. Well, he was a boy. He came up to me and he was like, "You have to disrespect to get respect." And I was like, "I don't think that's the way it's supposed to go. I feel like if you wanna be respected, you have to respect others." So I think just like moving forward with that mindset of respecting space, respecting yourself, respecting others is very important.
Yeah. Do you think, in that instance with that sixth grade young boy, do you think you explaining it to him, do you think he got the message then?
It's hard to say for sure because we were all kind of like stubborn and thought we knew things when we were in sixth grade. But
Of course.
um, I hope he knows now that it's important to respect other people. But it just caught me off guard when he said that. I was like, I don't think that it's supposed to work that way. So hopefully he's learned, to respect other people and not disrespect to get good respect. Because I feel like if that's the case, then it's not really respect. It's just people, acting out of fear towards you and not, honoring you and uh admiring you and respecting the things that you do and say.
Right. You trying to help develop and coach that young boy brings me to another phrase, that it takes a village.
Hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Now that one I heard a lot growing up. It's like it takes a village to raise a child, and I guess in the sense of that, knowing that that we should value community and that there's a community when it comes to building relationships and to improving this world and thinking about like the community that raised me and how it wasn't just my mom and my dad and my grandma that brought me up. It was aunts and uncles, close family friends, neighbors that imparted wisdom into me that my mom maybe couldn't or that my dad maybe couldn't. So that like I feel I have like so many like shared experiences in different communities because of that. So yeah.
Yeah. What benefits do you think can be attributed to having relationships with others who don't particularly look like you?
Um, it's a great question. I feel that when you're constantly surrounded by people that are like you or look like you, your mind can kind of be very closed off to the world. And I feel that because everyone is so different and individual, I feel that it's important to open yourselves up to experiences where you're in rooms having hard conversations with people who grew up completely different lives than you did. um it helps build a sense of community and allyship and just perspective all around so that you're not, for lack of better terms, like ignorant to your own experiences.
Earlier we spoke about your future, where you saw yourself in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mhm.
What would make pursuing a career in law enforcement exciting, interesting, or even inviting for you?
Yeah. That's funny. I used to think I wanted to work in law enforcement when I was younger, because I thought it would be kind of cool to chase down bad guys. But now I think of it more of like, if that were be the case for me and I were to pursue a career in law enforcement, I definitely would keep in mind that it's more about protecting and uplifting and building up of a community than it is, just trying to put bad guys away. If that even is like, mentoring the people that are out there, doing bad now and hoping to encourage them to, like, live and go and, you know, live and get on a different path. So I think that that's exciting. It's just like, igniting change in people's lives and providing hope for a community rather than just, serving as like, a tyrant that, comes in and takes out the bad guys and, controls and keeps order in the community, but is there for the community to support it. So yeah.
Yes, that's very insightful. I know a lot of times people say that we want change,
Mhm.
and we all know that change is inevitable. But if change is what is needed, can you explain how you would want to be a part of the change you want to see?
Yeah. Um, I feel like, excuse me, I feel that it's important to assert yourselves in many different ways that work for you to be a part of that change. I know that, like, with my generation, social media is a big thing, and um, you know, spreading out messages and sharing news with each other is a part where we can get, awareness of certain issues going around and ignite change, where more people are becoming aware of the issues that society face, and are picking apart the things that aren't right and standing up to it. I feel it's important to ground yourself with a group of people that are like-minded and also have very diverse perspectives, um, to help fight against something that is so much bigger than yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If you were given the opportunity to be a high-ranking elected official, what would you want to accomplish in your first, let's say, 100 days in office?
Ooh, there's a lot. I think to simply answer that question is to just think about, I'm a very, like, compassionate and empathetic person, so I think a lot of what people are in need of and what people are going through. So I would try my best to tackle and address those issues first, knowing that Baltimore City and Baltimore in general is a very, impoverished area, and people are, like, their livelihood is very hard. So just like trying to focus on issues where I could, help that system, I guess, would be where my focus would be at.
My last question. If there was, if you could sit and speak with the chief of police, what would you want the chief of police to know from a youth's perspective in regards to the relationships that officers have with their community?
Um, that it's important to protect our future, because with everything that's going on in the world, whether it have to do with, like, the political climate of it, or the fact that we're, like, still coming out, but like still in a pandemic, it can get very distressful and hopeless at times. And just feeling secure that our future is protected, that there are people that are rooting for us to win, no matter what we look like, no matter where we come from, just helps a lot in knowing that we can go forward and live and explore and make mistakes and not have it be so life changing as it is today.
Thank you so much, Madison.
Thank
I
you so much.
truly appreciate you spending your time with me this evening for this discussion. Is there anything that you would want our listeners to know that maybe it's that you want to bring light to, whether it's from a perspective of being a young Black woman or a perspective of being a soon to be graduating senior from Goucher College?
Um, I can't think of anything specific. I feel that everything that I've set up into this point is important to take heed to, but I guess my like closing remarks or like last words would be, or last words for this at least would be to make sure that you value the importance of listening to one another. I feel that there's not enough of that, happening. It's just a lot of like, waiting your turn to speak and not enough listening and taking heed to what the other person is saying or even how the person feels. So I feel like that's a very important takeaway moving forward that I would just like to leave with the audience.
You know what? That's it. I have no final words. I think you wrapped it up beautifully. I truly appreciate you taking your time to spend with us. And I wish you nothing but the best in your last year at Goucher College and for your next 5 to 10 years. And those concerns that you mentioned, I'm sure will be a thing of the past in a matter of days, as determined as you seem to be. So I wish you nothing but the best. And I truly appreciate you spending your time with us this evening during Candid Conversations.
Thank you so much.
This session of Candid Conversations will be conducted with some members of our youth community to gain insight into their perspectives, experiences, and future. Our first guest is Christian Thomas. Christian, can you briefly share a little bit about why you agreed to participate today, as well as a little bit about who you are?
Yes, thank you, Director Fenner. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Thomas. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a rising senior at Eastern Technical High School. I am also the student member of the board for Baltimore County Public Schools on the Board of Education. And I agreed to be here today because I really think it's important to have a strong youth perspective on a lot of the issues with the police department and as a representative of youth in Baltimore County, I think that I can shed some light onto the perspectives of my peers.
Thank you, Christian. Our next guest is Thomas Madeline. Thomas, can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of why you also agreed to participate in today's discussion?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Thomas Madeline. I am a Chesapeake High School senior. I am the commanding officer of the MCJROTC program at Chesapeake. And I agreed to sit here and talk today because I grew up in a very diverse background, and I think it's very important that we spread some light on some very important topics and issues that may be arising in our communities and even our schools. And I think it's important that the youth should spread their light on their intel into these topics.
Thank you so very much, Thomas. I'll start by asking this simple question. If you both could spend the day with anyone at all, whether they're still with us or not, who would that be and why? And you can just popcorn in your responses. It doesn't have to be a structured response pattern.
Definitely, Christian, if you don't mind if I could go first. Definitely for me, it would probably, on a personal level, be my grandfather. He passed away 2 years ago, but he instilled in the light of me of respect and hard work and dedication. And I like to, give that aspect off in all of my work and everything that I do. But in more of a unpersonal background, it would definitely probably have to be any president of the United States. I feel like that is a topic, especially the current vice president and president. No matter if they're with my political viewings or against my political viewings, I think being the president of the United States is one of the most honorable things that you can do, and one of the most dangerous jobs that you can hold. And I believe that, again, as I said, against or with my political views, just gaining insight and intel into such a huge organization and such a important topic, especially with the current climate of today's country, I believe that that's who I'd probably spend my day with.
If I could spend my day with anyone, it would probably be the late John Lewis. I remember back in my freshman year of high school reading a comic book about John Lewis, and it was titled March, and really getting to learn about all the things that he did during the civil rights movement and all the impact that he's had on our society and on today's world. And so I'd want to meet him because I also want to have an impact like that in my life, and I also want to be able to make a change, like John Lewis was going to. Dr. Fenner, you're muted.
Thank you. With that, one of the things that I'm hearing that both of you are saying where you were moved from is the word respect. So my question would be, can respect be given without respect being earned? Why or why not?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Christian. My apologies.
Oh, good. Thank you. I think respect should always be given at first. I think everyone should be treated with respect in any discipline. When you're first meeting someone, you should automatically go into a situation with a level of respect for every individual and for every person. And I think respect can be lost over time, but respect should always be granted to everyone. And in order for respect to be maintained, it should be a mutual thing that exists.
Thomas?
Definitely, I agree with Christian there. I feel like going into a situation, you can't judge a person by how they look or how they may talk to you. I feel like respect is a certain thing that you should always give everybody, whether that it's somebody of superior officer to you or somebody that is just an elder to you, or even if it's a little child that you meet while with your sibling. I believe that respect is something that you can learn with each individual because each individual plays in different styles and different roles. Um, as Christian stated, respect can be lost depending on what an individual does or their certain actions towards certain situations. But I feel like everybody deserves an ounce of respect. And I feel like respect, it should just be given out to anybody.
What benefits do you think can be attributed to developing relationships with others who don't particularly look like yourself?
Definitely, I feel like I can learn a lot. I know definitely I have learned a lot, especially going from, I went to Deep Creek Middle School and then going to Chesapeake High School. Um, it was predominantly an African American community. So I know myself, growing up in those areas and going to school in those areas and meeting just different people, I learned a sense of respect for the certain situations that others had been in that I hadn't. There's certain things that I have friends with that we've talked about certain situations where there's something I couldn't even have fathomed going through in my life. So I feel like I learned a new sense of respect and a new sense of responsibility to shed light on certain situations. I feel like it just makes myself a better human being. And I feel like that's one of the things that I can learn from being or friends with somebody that doesn't particularly look like me.
What about you, Christian?
Yeah, I completely agree with Thomas. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I completely agree with Thomas there. I think that by working with and hearing from the perspectives of people that we don't necessarily look alike or don't come from the same from the same background as us, we're able to really diversify our perspective and begin to understand the disparities that other communities might be facing. You know, as an LGBT plus student myself, or a person myself, if I hadn't been speaking to, I identify as gay, if I hadn't been speaking to some of my trans friends or non-binary friends, then I wouldn't understand the type of issues that they're facing. As a multiracial person, being Black, white, and Mexican, by talking to members of my family that identify or are parts of different communities, I've been able to diversify my perspective and learn about the world that we live in. And I think that that diverse perspective is the greatest way to reach collaboration in any facet of our society, whether that be through a business plan that's trying to have an equitable approach on a certain topic, or a political decision that's being created to make an impact on everyone. Diversifying perspectives is what allows for collaboration.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned diverse perspectives and your own background, Christian, being Mexican and African American and white. We often would hear the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Can you elaborate on what that phrase means for you?
For me, that means that it didn't just take it didn't take one person to make me the person I am today. It didn't take one area. It didn't take my white family members to make me the person I am today. It was the entire diverse family that I've grown up in, with my parents that are members of the LGBT plus community, enabling me to understand who I am, being an LGBT plus person as well, with my dad being African American and learning about what it means to be multiracial. It really took much more than one community to make me the person I am today. It took that village of communities. I wouldn't even say a village. It took multiple villages to make me the person I am today, really. And that includes not just my family familial village, but my village at Middlesex Elementary, and then at Summers Run, and now at Eastern Technical High School. Those villages continue to expand and grow because that's what has made me the diverse person that I am today.
What about you, Thomas?
Definitely. I feel like the phrase is a very broad term, but a broad term that I feel like applies to everybody, really. Now, being myself, I am a white individual, but my mother is from England. She come from a different country. My mother's an immigrant, and my father's side of the family is from Palermo, Sicily. So I feel like they has those two aspects into it, but many students and many individuals also have mentors, and those mentors guide and shape these children and the youth of our country to be better people and better individuals. I know personally for me, I wouldn't be who I am today without my Marine instructor at Chesapeake. He's taught me many things and many different ways to handle situations. And I feel like, as Christian said, it's taken more than multiple villages to shape an individual. But I feel like that's what the great part about that saying is that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you all have everybody has a hand in shaping an individual like myself or like Christian or like yourself. And it makes a broader spectrum for everybody because everybody can learn from everybody's experiences.
That's so insightful. We talk about experiences and learning from everyone else's experiences. I know that that shapes us as individuals. With that, would you be able to express today what excites you about your future?
Definitely. What excites me about my future is it's very cliche, but the fact that I don't know what I'm going to do when I wake up tomorrow. I love that adventure aspect. The way that when I wake up tomorrow, I don't know if I'll be in a new state. I don't know if I'll be working towards advocating for certain topics I agree with. I don't know what I would be doing. And I feel like that's just the exciting part about life. And that's what makes me or gives me the drive to strive for my goals and my dreams. Um, like I said, I know it sounds really cliche, but that's probably the main thing.
Christian, what about you? What excites you about your future?
What excites me about my future is that it really feels like my future is endless. I don't feel like there are any bounds. There's one direct path I have to travel on. I don't feel like, there are any limitations really to what my future holds. And this is my last year in high school, so senior year. I feel like after high school, there's college, and after college, there's so much more to learn about the world and so much more to be involved in. And so that's what's most exciting about me, is kind of like what Thomas said. I don't know what my future's going to hold. And so that means that I can really enjoy every moment and take on every experience and try to make as much of a difference as I can right now, because there isn't a direct path that I am set to follow.
So now that you know what excites you, what concerns you about your future?
Personally, I feel like this is a very tough question because I'm an optimist, so I like to think about, what the good things are going to be. But obviously, we all go through some bad situations in life, and I feel like the one thing that concerns me the most is, yeah, it would probably have to go back to respect. I think looking at social media and certain things, not a lot of people respect people. The one thing that concerns me is that students of my age or individuals of my age are going to grow up and they're not going to know how to respect certain individuals because we all hide behind screens occasionally. I know I've done it. I know I've put on a face on social media where I probably shouldn't have, because that's not who I am. And I think that also goes along with something that scares me is um, being remote and not having emotion. Especially this past year, it's been very tough to express to my friends and certain things and people that I can't see how I'm actually feeling. And I feel like that's the path that the country's kind of going down, is this whole social media screen aspect. And I just don't want that. I love human interaction. I feel like human interaction is the one thing that makes us human. And I feel like we can all learn from it. I know if I could, I would have loved to sit down with you, Christian, because I know you're the student member of the board, and I would love to hear your perspective on certain things. I just feel like human interaction is the one thing needed that we don't get as much nowadays, and I'm concerned that we won't have much of it anymore.
The thing that I'd say I'm most concerned about, coming from a low-income background, becoming a first-generation college student, is really financial stability. As a young person who's wants to be an optimist and wants to seek all these new adventures and the future to come, and wants to be able to be involved in so many things, at the end of the day, I'm really concerned about whether or not I'll be able to afford it, whether or not I'll be given the opportunity to get scholarships and get financial aid in college and in the future. And so that's one of the things that most concerns me, and concerns so many people who are going on to college and beyond. And so I really think with some more assistance there, some more resources, some more information about what's out there for us, what's here to support us as we're venturing this financially unstable world with our guiding us every step of the way. I think that those resources would be very beneficial and very helpful to us.
So, Christian, you talk about the struggle moving on, being that first generation college student. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, great question. In 5 to 10 years, that answer, I change that answer every single day about where I'll see myself. The other day I saw myself librarian on the board of education and for in the future. And then another day I saw myself at going for my doctorate degree and really going all the way up there trying to get and pursue my education as much as possible. But right now, all I see is being true to myself, continuing to always work as hard as I can and to stand up for what I believe in, to use my voice and just be vocal about the issues I'm passionate about. That's all I know for sure that I'll be doing in 5 to 10 years. Everything else kind of changes. And I'm in a tunnel now, sorry.
Thomas?
I agree with Christian on this. Is something that I've changed my mind on a lot. I think recently I've actually found my calling and found what I really want to do. And that's to lead. I love to lead. So I definitely see myself in 5 to 10 years being part of the United States military, as a officer in either the United States Marine Corps or the United States Army. I love the aspect of being able to help and instill influence in certain individuals. And I like the idea of being able to work with certain individuals to help them solve their problems and have them help me back. Um, After, the military, that's a whole different story. That's more than 10, 20 years away. But I think while in the military, I see myself pursuing my doctorate degree in JD and trying to receive my doctorate in constitutional law, because I would love to be a lawyer one day. But that's where I see myself in about 10 years is, leading with a purpose and showing others that they can do whatever they want to do, just as my parents instilled in me, that I can wake up the next day and do something completely different and be successful at it.
What would make pursuing a career in law enforcement exciting, interesting, or even inviting for you?
I think pursuing an occupation in law enforcement be exciting for me because it has an aspect of what I want to do. Because not only in the military, but also in law enforcement, you can lead. You are in charge of individuals, and you get to help those individuals grow. But I feel like, especially in law enforcement, I get to be one-on-one with the community that I love. Especially with Baltimore County, I've lived in Baltimore County my entire life, and I know its problems. I know exactly on a daily basis what goes on in my community. And the thing that excites me about joining a law enforcement occupation would be that I get to be one-on-one with that community, that I get to help save that community from an aspect, that I get to work with individuals that may be struggling at home, and I would get to make their lives better and just know that I could put a smile on their face just because I know that they're safer with me around.
Do you think it would be advantageous for law enforcement officers to police where they live?
Um, no, I feel like law enforcement officers, I feel like to a certain degree, you learn the area that you work in. So even if you grow up on a different side of the county and you moved over to Essex or you moved over to Middle River or that area, I feel like you would learn the area just as well as if somebody that lived there. So I feel like it wouldn't be as advantageous because no matter what, you're still working for the same common goal and you're still working in an area where you can make an impact, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, thanks. Christian, what would make pursuing a career in law enforcement exciting or interesting or even inviting for you?
For me personally, I haven't really been considering a career in law enforcement in my future. However, I think that the service aspect in some capacity can be related to law enforcement. Something that would maybe attract me or people like me, because at the end of the day, enforcement is to serve the community, and it's supposed to be a way for our communities to be a safer place. And I think in law enforcement, something that would attract me would be finding ways to ensure that that perspective and that mission of making communities safe was actually effective. And the way that we are making communities is responsive to the community's needs, and it ensures that communities are actually being made safer, and not necessarily feeling like they're ostracized by the presence of law enforcement, or feeling like they don't have a means of acceptance within the law enforcement or policing departments. And so I would want to serve my community if it wasn't part of that, but also ensure that the law enforcement agency is really working to maybe fix some of the perceived inequities that might be present, and try to ensure that it does capture it does create a better and safer community, instead of maybe hindering that better and safe community with its presence.
So we talk about safety and service for the both of you. That signifies for me some change. So if change is what is needed, can you explain why you would or wouldn't want to be a part of the change you want to see?
I know personally, I would love to be part of the change I want to see. Like I said, I grew up in an area that isn't the most friendly. So like as coming from that area and knowing exactly what is wrong, knowing the fact that I know that I could positively make a change in the area and change it 180 degrees would it would make me ecstatic. I can't even express the words that I want to say on how it would make me feel. I know being a positive change in a community personally can help a lot, not only for a person and themselves, because it'll obviously make anybody feel good, but like I said, making somebody else feel good at the end of the day is the best feeling I think I could ever imagine. So I would love to, be a part of that positive change in a community. I think to play the devil's advocate, though, I wouldn't want to be the change because I would be worried that I would mess up. I feel like that's something that's a personal thing that I would have to get over. But messing up on something such as large as that would be scary, to say the least, for most individuals. But I guess again, that adds that aspect of I have to do this because I know what's needed and I know I can do it.
What about you, Christian?
Can you please repeat the question? Sorry, I'm
Sure.
failing
If
something.
we were talking about change and service and the inequities that are within our communities. So if change is what is needed, can you explain why you would or wouldn't want to be a part of the change you want to see?
I would 100% want to be a part of the change I want to see because I want to make sure that my voice and the people that I guess from perspective of being the student member of the board, being a part of that change is my job at this point right now. It's important that I'm able to listen to the perspective of my peers, listen to the perspective of our generation, and be able to use my voice to make sure that we are a part of that change and that the change isn't being made by people who might not understand what it is like to be a 17-year-old in 2021, people who might not understand what it's like to be a kid during virtual learning. It's really important that anyone who can be a part of that change is a part of that change because each person has such a unique perspective on life and has so many different experiences in their background. And unless we can come together and share those diverse perspectives, then it's going to be one homogenous decision that's making the change instead of a collective decision to make the change. So I would 100% want to be a part of the change because I would want to not only myself use my voice to be a part of that change, but also to work to include so many other voices in that change.
Any ideas how we can make it better today for you and your future children?
I feel like it's a question that you have to play as you go. Um, I don't want to assume what would be right for my children in 10, 20 years. I don't want to assume that what is good for me and my friends and my family now in the community that I live in would be what my personal family needs 10 years from now. I feel like that's something that I would have to work on every single day to make better. I feel like if it comes down to it and I need to do something in the homeowners association to make the community better, or I need to go to the city council or the town council in order to request a law to be changed because I feel like the speed limit is too high and it's putting at risk the people in my community. I feel like when it comes to that and that aspect, it would be the right thing. Um, but I feel I don't want to make that decision wholeheartedly as of right now.
Christian, what about you? What do you think we could do today to make it better for you today?
I think that in order to make it together today, or to make it better today, we really have to lead with more empathy and encourage more conversations. Right now, across our nation, in Maryland, and any conversation really, if we are continuing to shut one another out, and the divide that exists between political parties, between backgrounds, it comes into the way of actually being able to have conversations and talk about change. And I think that our leaders, in every capacity, need to be more empathetic and understanding in order to make that change. Um, or did you want like specific examples of change?
No, your response was perfect. It leads me to my final thought.
Yeah.
What would you need to see to know that change is occurring?
For
I
me,
feel like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Christian.
no, you can go ahead, Thomas.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I feel like for me, it would be the communication that Christian stated in the previous question. When it comes down to it, again, whether it be through the computer or through the phone or even face to face, having conversations about what is wrong in the community and what you are personally feeling is a major thing and a major play of that aspect. Communication has been a thing since the dawn of time when cavemen drove it on walls in northern Finland or America, or even to now when we're talking to each other through a computer in the technological aspect and aspirations of the future. I feel like communication is the key to all of it.
Christian?
To wholeheartedly agree with Thomas there. I think that in order to see or to realize that change is happening, we need to be talking about the change. If there are concerns we have in the LGBT plus community, in order to even recognize the concerns that are present, we have to first talk about them. And then to actually realize change, we have to be opening up opportunities for new people to be a part of that change and to bring in their perspective. So I think that to see change is to see more people being involved, and is to see a society that is more accepting in general.
Thank you, Christian. And thank you, Thomas. Hopefully these type of conversations will be the impetus of that change that we all would like to see. I thank you both for your time and your contribution to this discussion. Peace and blessings to the both of you, and good luck with this upcoming school year, as well as your future endeavors.
Thank you.